Happy New Year, everyone. This is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1, and it is the day after Christmas, and Field McConnell is still in jail. Now, today we are going to discuss betrayal. As many of you know, Timothy Charles Holmseth claims to have been hacked on Christmas Day, of all things. And he naturally blamed his enemies for the hacking. Now, if Tim Holmseth had bothered to watch some of my videos, especially the more recent ones, and the one about where I was hacked, he would understand that it's not necessarily your enemies that do the hacking. The hacking could very well, and more likely, would have been done by someone that was on your side, someone that you considered your friend. Now, Timothy should remember that he claimed that somebody betrayed him that used to be a friend, Chad Cater. He accused Chad Cater of giving information to Kim Picasio about where he was being hid. Now, two things here. First of all, I am not accusing Chad Cater of hacking into Tim's website. I don't think he has the knowledge to do it. There's someone else that does. And second of all, Chad Cater basically wants to forget the whole damn thing. He basically has gone back to earning a living, and he has left all this business with Tim Holmseth in the dust. He frankly does not care about Tim anymore. Tim can go to hell for all he cares. So the question comes, who else could have hacked into Holmseth's website? Now, as I am making this recording, the website is partly back up. I originally thought that someone may have gotten a hold of Tim's passwords and gotten into the blog and basically removed it. And usually what happens in a case like that is somebody will have your login information, they'll go in, they'll shut you down, they'll change your passwords and everything so you can't get back in again. And then you have to fight like a dog with your hosting service to get everything back. This time, it may have been just a little bit different. It appears that instead of hacking let me correct this. Instead of doing a denial of service attack, whoever did it wanted to damage the blog instead of completely removing it, or their efforts to remove the blog did not succeed because they didn't hit the proper area in the software on the hosting services server to completely knock it off. They didn't change the password, they didn't change the login information, because it was possible to recover the blog, at least somewhat. Now, what's happened to the blog is all the hypertext markup language capability has been removed. HTML, it's known as. And what hypertext is when you look at a modern day website, be it a blog, a regular website, or even Twitter, it's done as what's known as hypertext. This language allows you to have all the fancy appearances you see on the various websites rather than just a boring, ordinary text only. Hypertext makes images within websites possible, even videos. All kinds of the fancy little things you can do now and do automatically on a modern day web page, social media page, or any other website. You need powerful computers to run these things. That's why you can't take a 20 or 30-year-old computer, hook it up to your internet connection, if you ever could figure out how to do it, and do anything on the internet. You need a fairly modern computer, one made in the last 10 years or so, that's able to do these things. Anything older than 10 years old, it's unlikely you're going to get anything out of it, except what you see right now on Timmy's website. Now, here's what I'm talking about. This is what Timothy Holmseth's website looked like before it was taken down. You got the picture of the airplane, all the soldiers, the format and everything is really nice, looks very professional looking. If not a little bit on the sloppy side, it's professional looking. Now, this is what it looks like in plain old text without the hypertext markup language. It's bland. The text is spread out all over the place. It's readable. You can hyperlink, but that's about all you can do. The pictures aren't showing up, the graphics aren't showing up. And this is because somebody's gone in and they've removed the software that makes hypertext possible. And so, until GoDaddy, who is the host service for Tim Charles Holmseth's website, repairs it, it's going to remain that way. And Holmseth may not be able to put any more articles up. It's hard to say what's going to happen in the next few hours and days when it comes to trying to recover this website. But the damage is done. And this points out something about whoever may have been responsible for this. Normally, when a hacker goes into your website, they bring it completely down. Or they'll do some fancy things like redirect to a porn site or other website, or just basically screw your website up. And they also may embed malware that will affect the computer of whoever logs in to read your website. And malware is basically the same thing that happened with Tim. He got hit with a kind of attack that damages his website and doesn't completely disable it. He wasn't hit with any tracking software. He wasn't hit with anything that's going to explode his website with ads or anything like that, at least not yet. He got hit with a rather amateurish hack. Something a beginning hacker, a teenager, maybe even a 10-year-old would do. Whoever did this hack is not a sophisticated hacker. So, the question is, who did this? Who decided to troll Tim Holmseth in a way doing this kind of a hack? Well, again, I refer you back to videos I made on this various subject. If you remember, I said that I had I had an administrator and 2 moderators when I was live streaming back in 2008. And these administrators got mad at me because the sister of one of my moderators was discovered to be a unregistered sex offender. And the sister went on my chat without my permission, defended her, and called the children who were the victims of the inappropriate behavior by their father liars. Declared that the reason the children lied is because the grandfather forced them to. He was a highly connected political person and all this, and he forced the children to lie about what happened because he wanted the children out of the custody of the father. Now, when I found out about it, I said, look, you do not defend an unregistered pedophile on my channel. You're not to talk about the children. You're not to talk about her. This is not about them. This is about Caylee Anthony. And as a result, I got hacked. My login information was given to a hacker who made a mess of things for about 6 months to a year before I could get it all straightened out. And it cost me some money. I had to change hosting services. I had to completely redesign my blogs. The one blog became completely useless, and so on and so forth. And it happened again when I was covering the case of Derek Lawsoner, who was a computer hacker that got involved in a student rape case up in the state of Ohio. But these were denial of service attacks. My information for getting into my social media sites were stolen and used against me, and it took a lot to get the hosting service to correct the problem. I actually had to shut the website down temporarily until I got things straightened out. And there's a Twitter account to this day that I am unable to get into because the hacker will not give me back my password. I can only get into the account on one computer, and I cannot change my password because I don't know the old one. And it's America Online, so there's nothing I can do about that. So that gives you an idea of what happens when someone is determined to screw you up. It's in there. And this is what's happened to Tim Holmstead. Somebody got mad at him. Somebody decided to teach him a lesson. And he got hacked. So now, we have to figure out who would have hacked him. Well, a suspect can easily be found, and almost for the same reason that I got hacked. Now, Tim Holmseth wrote a couple articles, including one on Christmas Day, that had to do with getting Field McConnell out of the mess he's created for himself. Get him out of prison. Get his house back. And Tim continued to hammer home that he is the number 3 person in this whole mess. First there's the president, then there's this intermediary, and then there's himself when it comes to this task force. Both the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force and for a short period of time the super secret unnamed task force that he can't talk about because of high security. Now, things were going good for a while. Everybody was happy. They were saying, oh, we're going to get Field out of this trouble. You know, and E-Claus came in and said, we're doing everything we can. There's things going on behind the scenes and all this. And this was giving everybody the impression that Kirk Pendergrass and E-Claus were in there doing their damnedest to get Bill McConnell out of his little mess. Anyway, so everything was going fine. People were helping out. People were cooperating. They were in this nice, big, comfortable house, having a gay old time, going on the air. Tim was over in his little corner doing his blogs, talking about how important he was. Kirk Pendergrass was on Field McConnell's show. Field McConnell. Start that one over again. Kirk Pendergrass was on Field McConnell's show, talking about how Field McConnell was happy that people were trying to get him out of his mess. He did get a little concerned once that things weren't happening the way they were supposed to, and he wasn't getting enough information about what was going on with the house. And so he's getting a little bit worried. But in the end, everybody was happy. Everybody said, okay, you know, we're cooperating. We're going to do everything we can to get Field out of his mess. He's able to make his phone call and say his prayers and talk about Zim bonds and all this other crap. And then a new player came into the fold. This global postmaster out of Idaho. This new guy that was going to fix everything. He's going to send a letter to the sheriff to scare the bejesus out of her to releasing Bill McConnell. And in the midst of all this, a little disclaimer started showing up in the all-important Timothy Charles Homestead. And it said basically that E-Claus is not part of the show. E-Claus is not handling any effort whatsoever to get Field McConnell out of jail. In addition, E-Claus is not in any way, shape, or form involved in getting Field McConnell's house out of it trouble it's in, to make sure that the government doesn't take his house away from him, or the bank, or anyone else for that matter. That Kirk Pendergrass has nothing to do with any of this. Kirk Pendergrass does not represent Field McConnell. Kirk Pendergrass is not a power of attorney or a durable power of attorney for Field McConnell. None of it. Basically, Timothy Homestead threw Kirk Pendergrass under the bus, and he did it publicly, and he did it more than once. He did it at least 4 times that I'm able to find. And in this last article, just before he got shut down, he made the most blunt and severe comment he could make. And that is that Kirk Pendergrass absolutely, positively has absolutely nothing to do with anything. That he's not in the middle. He's not part of the high command. He's not anything. He's a nothing. He's a leech. And, you know, if you look between the lines, Kirk Pendergrass is an interloper barging in where he shouldn't be. That he should stick to his E-Claus law corner and stay out of the business of the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, because he doesn't have the clearance. He doesn't have any say. He's not a legal representative for the PPTF. He's nothing. He's an absolute nothing. Now, Kirk Pendergrass is a convicted felon. He's broken the law. He's actually argued a case representing himself regarding not having insurance and doing whatever it was that got him pulled over in the first place, and lost. He had to pay the ticket. Probably had to pay court costs because he fought it. but he lost. And he's lost every other legal argument that he's made in court. And he's also made lives miserable for those that decided to take his advice when going to court. And he has done absolutely nothing for Field McConnell. But again, this global postmaster came out of nowhere and basically took everything over. He sent the letter to the sheriff. He had it enforced along with this sergeant guy who said if the sheriff doesn't wise up and do as he's told and does as she's told, they're going to send in the National Guard and get him out. And then right after that, it turns out that Phil McConnell's on a boat owned by this global postmaster. Even though on the very day this was all said, Phil McConnell called in from jail. So all the stories are getting convoluted in the middle of all this. But Tim is beginning to feel marginalized because Kirk Pendergrass kept coming back and trying to run the show and spotting how important he was and so on and so forth. And Tim was not going to have any of it. So there's a power play that developed between these two groups. The Pendergrass group and the Holmseth group. And in the midst of all this, right at the height, at the end of the very article that basically threw Kirk Pendergrass under the bus, Tim's blog gets hacked. That's a hell of a coincidence that you're sitting there constantly saying that this guy who's been living in this house for over 2 months has nothing to do with the party. That he's an outsider, he's just an observer doing his own thing, talking nice to Phil McConnell, but that's about all. That Kirk Pendergrass has nothing to do with anything. Now, Kirk Pendergrass goes around saying he's a know-it-all law person. He knows all about common law and knows all this stuff that's going to change and we're not going to have this maritime law and all this other stuff anymore. We're going to go to a totally different system. And this was cutting into Tim Holmseth's world. Tim Holmseth was losing attention in order to appease Kirk Pendergrass. And thus, these statements were made. Tim Holmseth somehow turned to this new postmaster and cast out Kirk Pendergrass. Now, a while back, Kirk Pendergrass stated that he knew how to run computer networks. They also knew databases. So this is something else that Kirk Pendergrass is an expert in. He knows about computer networking, he knows about computer databases. And what is a blog? It's a computer database. It's on a server owned by the hosting service and is used by Timothy to put his blog on. Now, since Kirk Pendergrass knows hosting, by that I mean he knows networking, knows how networks work, probably knows what a server is, since that's in a corporate world, servers are used more often than in a home, even though you can make a home server. That's what I run my system on. I have a server in the house. I can access it remotely from anywhere in the world through remote access software. So I have my own server. I don't use it to blog with, I use it for other things. But since Kirk Pendergrass knows networks and servers, Kirk Pendergrass knows how to get in to a network and a server, and he knows enough about the database to probably screw things up for Tim Holmseth. Now, I'm not directly accusing Kirk Pendergrass of this, but he is the lead suspect because of his broad knowledge of computer networking, which is precisely what GoDaddy is. It's a database with all these servers, and on one of these servers is Timothy Charles Holmseth. It's this little computer apartment. You know, he's in an apartment, and he's in a great big apartment. A server's like an apartment building. It's probably got a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand domains on this one server. So it's like an apartment. You don't get what they call a dedicated server. Those things are expensive. Instead, what you get is you get a room in a server, usually about 100 gigabytes or so, because that's about all you need to run a blog, and you're off and running. And he gets what is known as a WordPress blog, which is something offered by GoDaddy for an additional fee. You pay a few bucks a month, you get WordPress through GoDaddy, and that's what Tim Holmseth is running. Now, getting back to the hypertext. When this thing originally went down, I thought it was the old-fashioned got a hold of your login information and screw you up that way type of hack, which is possible. And one of the ways it's possible to get this information is to put a keylogger on the victim's computer. Now, a keylogger is a simple little piece of software that basically copies every stroke of the key you make on the computer. You go to a website and you type in the command to go to that website, the keylogger is going to know that. If you write an email, the keylogger is going to know that. If you do a direct message, so on and so forth. So the keylogger is going to keep track of everything you do. And the keylogger, which runs in the background, you never know it's there. There's not going to be a little icon up on your screen that says you got a keylogger in there. Usually you'll notice it because your computer starts acting weird. But the more sophisticated ones don't even do that anymore. You'll have a keylogger there and you simply won't know it. It takes a lot of hard work to find one of those things. So all someone needs is a way to get to the keylogger. They've usually created their own little password and everything, so as long as the target computer is up and running and is logged into the internet, doesn't matter where, the keylogger will find it, and all that information can be downloaded. Method number 2 is to simply get the login information for the computer that Timothy Holmseth uses to do his blogs. Now remember, for the better part of 2 months, Tim Holmseth has been living in this house with Kirk Pendergrass and Dr. Feelgood and whoever else is there. There's a lot of people in that house. It's a big house. Tim Holmseth had the habit of clicking away on his laptop sitting in the recreational room or wherever the heck that is inside this really big house. And he's on a network. Because when you're wirelessly connected to a router, which is going to give you access to the outside world, that's a computer network. It's a home computer network. So that information is going to the router. Now, there is a way for someone in the same household with another computer and the right amount of knowledge to intercept the information off of Tim's laptop. And he could have gotten the information that way. And also, Tim may have gotten up, since he feels secure, gone to get himself a glass of milk, maybe went to go to the bathroom, and God forbid, take a shower, and happened to leave his computer running. And someone would have been ready to strike when an opportunity like that presented itself. And it wouldn't take more than maybe 5 or 10 minutes to quickly put a flash drive through the USB port of the laptop. And if it's an older laptop, it doesn't have a lot of disk space. And basically clone the drive over onto the flash drive. And that would basically put the laptop computer on a flash drive. Now, if you get a big enough flash drive, you know, one that's maybe a terabyte or even half a terabyte, 500 gigabytes, you can actually run software like it's a computer. You can do it through a TV, a smart TV, you can do it through an Xbox, or you can do it through a relatively cheap computer, be it a desktop or a laptop. And that flash drive is going to have everything Tim has ever done on that particular computer. And it also gives the person the access to Tim's blogs, Tim's BitChute, Tim's social media, all over the internet. Whoever has that flash drive now has all that information. And remember, the pictures that were taken of Tim Holmes's son and daughter, the pictures of the daughter are even more graphic, were on a flash drive. At least one source was on a flash drive. The other sources that are out there, the dozen or so people that have all this stuff, it's unknown how they got a hold of it and what they've got it stored on. But they do. There's at least a dozen people now that have all this stuff on Tim Holmseth. And it's all kinds of pictures, all his recordings that he made, uncut, to various people, and inappropriate pictures of all his children are on these various computers and flash drives and hard drives and whatever drives that are out there. Just waiting for the day when Tim gets paid back for whatever perceived wrong he's done against him. They're laying in wait, waiting for the perfect moment. And this business with Tim's blog is part of that. And it's a reason to suspect Kirk Pendergrass because of all the negative attention Tim has thrown towards Kirk Pendergrass over the past few days. Now, there are other suspects out there, and they are not necessarily male, but they're all part of the Holmseth family. Not biological family, his online family. There's a woman up in New York State that is bragging that she's going to be his wife, and Tim hasn't said one word about her. Hasn't mentioned her, hasn't said he's pleased at all the attention, hasn't done anything. He's completely ignored this woman. Probably doesn't even know about her. Now this woman, who clearly wants to become Tim Holmes' wife, might be getting a little mad because Tim is leaving her out of the picture. And there's the old saying, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So, we have this mysterious woman. We don't know her background. We don't know what she knows about computers. She knows enough to steal pictures of a woman that's not her. So this woman has computer knowledge to some extent, amateurish maybe. And since the hacking of Tim Holmes' blog was rather amateurish, it might be her. She might be mad that Tim didn't send her flowers or a Christmas card. That Tim is completely ignoring her. That maybe Tim doesn't want to be a wife, have a wife. Doesn't want to make stallions. Doesn't want to make anything for that matter. You know, maybe Tim's got someone a little closer to where he lives that he's having intimate relationships with. Maybe some woman over in Wisconsin or on the outskirts of Minneapolis. You don't know. But perhaps this woman got a little bit irate because she's been shut out. She's been embarrassed. And she's telling Tim in a subliminal way that he'd better come be my man or there's going to be hell to pay. And then there's the mysterious Free Field One, who has been ignored by Tim to a large extent. And if it's a woman, I think it is, she doesn't get happy. She's not happy when things don't go her way. She has a hellacious temper. And there's no telling what she would do. And she's got some interesting skills. She's able to create troll accounts and instantly change them, post messages in her bio so that people that are blocked from her account can still read what she has to say. Very manipulative woman. There's a possibility she knows more about computers than we originally thought, and she might have just enough knowledge to screw around with Timothy Holmes' blog. Because you got to remember, what happened to Tim Holmes' blog is a very poorly executed, unsophisticated hack. It's the kind of thing that a person first getting into hacking would try. Because all it is a way to show that you are able to get into a website without authorization and do something when you're in there. And stripping the hypertext capability off the blog is either the purpose of the hack or a result of the hack. Because in some way, the software that runs the server got interfered with, and the ability to create and use hypertext was taken away. And you get stuck with a rather dumb-looking blog format that's going to turn a lot of people off. They're not going to want to read it because it's sloppy looking. It's boring. And so a shot across the bow, in military terms, has been made. That someone is telling Tim Holmes, don't fuck with me. Blunt language is required in this one, because that's exactly what's happening here, is he has fucked somebody over and they're mad at him. And this once again brings me right back to the person that bragged about knowing how to run computer networks and knows a lot about computer databases. is the main logical suspect. The man lived in the same house as Timothy Holmseth. He was there long enough to learn Timothy Holmseth's habits, his patterns. When he went to the bathroom, when he went to sleep, when he took a shower, whether or not he shut his computer off when he was done with whatever he was doing. Determine how strong the password it was in the computer that Holmseth was using. Determine whether or not Tim Holmseth had any kind of virus protection on his computer. All these things. Tim Holmseth does not know a hell of a lot about computers. I found that out a long time ago. He knows graphic design, he knows software to some extent, but computers he has very little knowledge of because he keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. And I think that someone in that household within Tim Holmseth's sphere of influence noticed it. So that anyone that Tim Holmseth has been with, where he had the laptop with him that he used to get on that blog, would know enough about Tim to get to that machine and to do whatever it is they wanted to do with it when they had it in their possession. And that may include putting keyloggers on it, getting access to his login information, or getting information that was necessary to screw Tim over. Because somehow someone got into that server on GoDaddy and messed up that blog. But they didn't know enough to cause severe damage because Tim was able to recover the blog, or GoDaddy recovered it for him. I think B is the answer. I think GoDaddy probably caught whatever happened and tried to repair it to save the damage to their server. They don't give a flying crap about Tim Holmseth's blog. They want to protect the server. And usually when something like that happens, the first thing they do is they take the software offline to try and track down what happened to it. And then when they do find out, they do a basic restoration so that everybody knows the thing exists. But Tim Holmseth has sent an email saying that we have detected malware or virus on our server. In order to fix it, it's going to cost you a couple $100 and up. They have a basic service for $200. After that $200, it goes hourly. Usually what happens is GoDaddy will send you a letter and it will have all the subroutines listed that are affected by the hack. Anything that's put in there that's not supposed to be in there, the files that were corrupted, whatever it was that caused that blog to go down, it will be listed. And you have a choice of either manually going in there and fixing whatever the problem is, or paying GoDaddy to do it. And unfortunately for Holmseth, his choice at this moment is to do the whole thing all over again. Start up with a new website on a new server, probably with a new hosting service, and reload everything and pray that whatever caused the problem on his blog isn't on his laptop. Because that's a distinct possibility. He could have hacked his own website. He could have been ready to put up another article after the one he just wrote, or a comment, or logged in to see how many views he was getting. And whatever killed his blog was already on the laptop because somebody put it there. Somebody stuck a flash drive in there, uploaded a quick piece of malware that was hidden in the background that the minute Tim Holmseth signed on to his blog, voila, a hack blog. And he could go around and blaming the fish people or the lizard people or the Luciferans or whoever he wanted to for his problems, completely ignoring who is probably the likely suspect in all this. See, this is what happens when you get on somebody's radar that has no moral compass, that has no ethics, that doesn't hesitate when it comes to breaking the law. Someone who feels that they are above the law, that the law that's out there is irrelevant, that they have their own point of view. Their corporate law is irrelevant in their eyes, and so on and so forth. And it's funny, this all keeps coming back to Kirk Pendergrass, because of Kirk Pendergrass's attitude when it comes to the court and to the legal system of this country. He believes all this is irrelevant. And so Tim Holmseth, while making public pronouncements that it was the Luciferns, the evil ones, the Satanists, all this, that tampered with his blog, tried to silence him, is secretly probably trying to figure out if the problem is actually a little bit closer to home. If perhaps it was Kirk Pendergrass. Now, Kirk Pendergrass is gone from the house. He's not around. He left. And he left almost immediately after that article came out. I'm not exactly sure when Pendergrass left, but it would seem to me that it might have been right after that Christmas poem that was read. I don't watch or listen to the Field Report, nor do I do the same with Kirk Pendergrass, so I'm not sure exactly when everybody left. If I find out before I make this video, you'll see the text above this portion of the video where I've filled in this information. Because this is not live, this is recorded. It's recorded in a car, so I don't have access to my graphics. I have to make the recording first, and I have to edit it in my software, and then I put it out there. That's why you usually don't see it before 10 o'clock at night. And it takes me 6 to 8 hours to make one of these stupid things. I'm a little slow at this. Anyway, getting back on target. So Kirk Pendergrass takes off. Now, if Kirk Pendergrass owns a laptop computer, all Kirk Pendergrass has to do is pull over in the parking lot of your favorite McDonald's or other restaurant that offers free Wi-Fi, log into Tim Holmseth's blog, if he's got the right information, and play with it. Say, okay, Mr. Holmseth, I'm going to teach you to say that I'm not involved with Phil McConnell and all this other super secret stuff going on. I'll just F up your blog, teach you a little lesson. And here we are. But Mr. Pendergrass may not have quite enough knowledge to completely tear the thing down, or maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he just wants to put a little bit of fear in Holmseth and tell him that I can do it once, I can do it again. Either you quit trash talking me, or I'm going to make your life a living hell. And Tim Holmseth has something to worry about now as well. What kind of information? Wow. What kind of information does Kirk Pendergrass have on Tim Holmseth? Now, it's quite clear Kirk Pendergrass knows where Tim Holmseth is right now. Whether he's in Plum City, whether he's down with his daughter in Tennessee, or he's back in Wisconsin, or in Minnesota. Kirk Pendergrass knows all of Tim Holmseth's habits and can pretty well determine where he's at any given time. And There's no reason that Kurt Pendergrass couldn't get in to an email of someone like me who would love to know all I can find out about Tim Holmseth and send me an anonymous letter, create a Twitter account, and put up anonymous posts on Twitter, or perhaps start dropping instant messages. I've been getting a lot of demands lately that people want to direct message me on Twitter, and I've gotten some very interesting stuff on there. Maybe one of those people is Kurt Pendergrass. I don't know, because I don't give out their name. They're relatively new accounts, and they disappear almost as fast as they come about. Some will come on, spend about 2 or 3 days leaving me messages, and go away. So someone out there that has intimate information about Timothy Holmseth and some other people are contacting me and other people. This is where I'm getting all my information from, and these anonymous sources, and I encourage them. I say, hey, go for it. You know, this is the oldest tool in the book for a reporter, or a journalist, or an investigator, is anonymous sources. You send me the information, I check it out. If the information checks out to be worth anything, I report on it. And so Holmseth has all this to worry about now. There's someone out there who's painted a bullseye on his blog. There's someone out there that's capable of damaging that blog. And Tim Holmseth has made someone mad enough that they're willing to break the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act to get back at him. They say whatever this person did is against the law. It's a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. It's unauthorized access to a website. It's what got Derek Lossiter thrown in jail for a couple of years and thrown off the internet, because he hacked he was the mastermind of the hacking of a website that belonged to a fan club for a high school football team. And 2 people went to jail for that. The person that did the actual hacking, and Derek Lossiter is the mastermind. Yeah, and the punishment was pretty severe considering what he did. You know, he got 2 years in prison. And he got basically thrown off the internet. He can't be on the internet. And so whoever pulled this stunt, if they ever get caught, they face the same fate. But some people may not think that far ahead. Derek Lossiter didn't think ahead. And look where it got him. And so whoever broke into Timothy Holmseth's blog thinks that they're going to get away with it. And they probably will. It's very hard to track down somebody that does this sort of thing. The FBI usually doesn't do it. The FBI, in the case of Derek Lossiter, was put under a great deal of pressure to get to the bottom of what happened. Someone had to pound the head of the prosecuting attorney and the FBI to get Derek Lossiter prosecuted. And someone else with that same amount of determination is going after Tim Holmseth. Now, it's not the same person, I can guarantee you that. Because what's being done here is illegal. And if Tim Holmseth wants to find out who's screwing around with his computer, he needs to start looking at who he knows that has a criminal record. Who does he know that's a convicted felon? Who does he know that doesn't like the current system of government? Who does he know that the person claims to be an expert on the law? And who does he know that advocates the overthrow of the current legal system? And who does he know that used to brag about being at the center of getting Phil McConnell out of his situation? I think we all know the answer to who he knows. And I think at some point, be today, tomorrow, sometime down the road, maybe when more attacks happen, Timothy Holmself will know that he had messed with the wrong person. He got the wrong person mad at him. And that person betrayed him. That person was someone he considered a friend. It is someone Tim Holmseth considered an ally. That someone is now Tim's mortal enemy. That person is now someone that Tim is going to have to watch his back in case this person comes back to do something else. And that person will. That person's not going to stop. Person's going to wait for the right opportunity, the right time, when Tim Holmseth least expect it, and Tim's going to get a hit again. It may not be, maybe his blog, maybe a tip to law enforcement about where he is, maybe something entirely unexpected. But Tim Holmseth has a target on its back now. And it's not me. It's not me. It's not Kim. It's none of these people that watch my YouTube videos. Because we don't break the law. We obey the law. We believe in the law. We believe in ethics. We believe in morality. We believe in leaving innocent people alone. We don't go around mocking people by calling her Miss Piggy. We don't call for executions, for sending people to Gitmo and hanging them. We just want to debate our various issues that we either agree or disagree with, and do so knowing that we can do it safely. And that we're not going to be accused of weird things. We're not going to be accused of being a Lucifer or a pedophile, or that we go around eating babies and drinking their blood. We have our political differences, our religious differences, all kinds of differences, yet we can be friends. That's not the case with people like Tim Holmseth. You're either with him or you're against him. If you don't believe what he says about his pedophile task force, then you're a pedophile. And we have Kirk Pendergrass. If you don't believe in his new version of how things should run within the government and society as a whole, then you're the problem. You're the criminal. You have to be taken off the bar and re-educated, and you have to do this, that, and the other thing. And it's people like these that don't have the incentive to obey society's norms and obey the law. And once again, I give this warning to Timothy Holmseth. Beware those you consider your best friend, because your best friend could be your worst enemy. And on the other side of that, pay attention to your enemies, because in the end, they could be your best friend, because at least they see what's going on, and they might be able to warn you that you're in for a bad ride if you don't change the way you're doing things, because your friends are now your enemies, and your enemies are getting more and more bold and more angry. The angrier enemies get, that are willing to do whatever it takes, even if it's illegal, the worse it's going to get, because there's no limit as to what these people will do. There's no boundaries. There's no conscience. There's nothing there. They will do what they will do. And if it means hacking into a blog, then that's what they will do. And so we watch, we wait, and we see as 2020 fast approaches. What is next in store in the wild and wacky world of Timothy Charles Holmseth? And with that, I say Happy New Year. And with that, this is William K. Murtaugh, Heart Witness 1. Have a good one.